Hello everyone and welcome to another analysis. I hope you are having a great day, and let's start with updates on conscription in Ukraine. Here in Odessa, on a video in the train station was posted. Ukrainian recruitment officers walk in the train and start to give papers to men on the train. But some of the men were upset that they can't be a drone operator or a Leopard tank driver, so they were arrested and are probably going to have 2 weeks of training and then be sent to Artyomovsk or Avdiivika. We have another video of Ukrainian democracy at the town of Nizhyn. In a supermarket in the city, a Ukrainian officer approached him. Officer kept talking to the man and telling him he is going to be conscripted Ukrainian forces and telling to sign a contract. More recruitment officers arrived and it was already decided he was joining the URF. So this man is also going to the meat grinder with the rest. Now let's talk about what has happened in the Kyiv. Zaluzhnyi, who was the Ukrainian commander-in-chief for 2 years and 196 days, has been fired from his position. Zaluzhnyi was replaced by Colonel General Oleksandr Syrskyi, who the commander of defending Kyiv, Kharkov, but most importantly Artyomovsk, or also known as Bakhmut, he commander that killed thousands of Ukrainian soldiers who were trying to defend Bakhmut. When it was obvious that Bakhmut was already lost to the Russians, but he still persisted and used brute force tactics that killed more of his soldiers than necessary and lost the battle anyway. Every Ukrainian soldier and war reporter hates him for his senseless tactics, and it will be interesting to see what will come to Ukraine now that he is in charge of URF. Now let's head to Kharkov Oblast, where we have 2 reports of bombings. One in Kharkov city, while the other is in Zmiev city. The one in Kharkov city we have video proof, but the one in Zmiev we only have words of confirmation. You can see rubble and destruction. Ukrainian sources claims these strikes in Kharkov killed 3 civilians, but we can obviously see rubble of armored car parts and wires. Also the POV doesn't show the area, obviously not wanting to expose destruction of friendly vehicles and death of Ukrainian soldiers. Now let's move to the Kupyansk sector. Over here there been interesting development. The 132nd Tank Regiment launch operations in this area. They first pushed Krokmon farming village, if you even can call it a village that only made up of 3 farming houses. Anyways, they pushed Krokmon farming village, then pushed outward. They pushed all the way to North Edge Berestov and tried to assault the village but failed and had to stop operations. While in the Ukrainian side the morale of the soldiers there was so low that the war reporters there started to panic and report false information that the Russian achieved another 6-kilometer breakthrough. This caused multiple companies that was defending the area to waver and retreat from the line of contact. But before the situation got even worse of URF, one of the largest and trusted Ukrainian propaganda sources, Deep State Maps, UA, clarified the true line of contact, making soldiers stay in position instead of leaving. Back to the Russian side. After a week of no activities in the area, the Russian forces, specifically the 132nd Tank Regiment, launched another operation. This time, Kislivka and Kotlyarivka was the target. The Ukrainian took heavy losses and took the option to leave, but the Russians were unable to take full control of the 2 minor villages. The villages since have been in a grey zone. But they were able to capture the fork of a dirt road that leads to another tiny farming village called Avdiivika. For now, no more updates or activities have been performed here. We hear about positional fightings and drone strikes on each other's positions. Now moving towards the Terny sector, or also known as Kurovsk sector. Here you can see a small Russian advance, the advance only being 448 acres towards the minor village of Yampollovka, ever getting closer to reaching the bridge and the river. The movement in this area significantly slowed down, with updates of advances coming up once a week. This was probably due to the reinforcement Ukraine brought to this area. Russian forces have finally now reinitiated operations in this area and have now fully captured the factory southeast of Belgorovka. This town has been very much on the forefront of the war for a very long time, so this town is basically in ruins. Now moving on to the Artyomovsk sector, or the Konstantinovka sector. Here in Artyomovsk sector interesting events have taken place. After the Russian 150th Motorized Rifle Division has been replaced with the Russian elite 98th Air Guards Division, renewed offensive have been started. The 98th Division quickly taken the cemetery. They quickly pushed into the north of the small forest. For now, no video proof of Russian forces having advanced even further, but there is claims from Sukas of Russian pushes and advance. But we won't update until video proof or top trusted sources confirm this. While in the east of Ivanovska, the Russian forces did a major advance and captured the outskirts of the major village. We have some reports that fighting is happening inside the village, but nothing solid yet. Moving on from that, we have the most important update so far in our analysis, the Avdiivika sector. As you can see, a lot of updates on the ground. Let's get into it. About almost a month ago, Russian launched the final countdown of Avdiivika operation in the north. Russian found a weak spot and broke through. They first took some residential buildings in the north and quickly established a stable foothold. After that, they start to steamroll the Ukrainian 110th Mechanized Brigade that was in charge of the area. Slowly pushing, the objective was to cut off the Road of Life, that's the Ukrainians' last paved road in and out of the city. Russian forces soon had fire control on it once they captured the industrial zone. Soon enough, Russian pushed up and now have physical control over the road, leaving the last road in and put of the city to be a dirt road. As you can see, the Ukrainian 110th Mechanized Brigade is no longer here. Well, around 40% of the brigade is still left in the minor city. They were ultimately replaced by the Azov 1st Assault Unit, who is now taking brunt of the casualties and soon may have to be evacuated or it will be completely destroyed. Now we have a video of Russian forces bombarding Avdiivika at night. We see that Russian arty is hitting Avdiivika with everything they got. These strikes were probably done by the 14th Guards Artillery Brigade. Heavy destruction in the citadel area. There is claims from sources that Russian forces advance further here. This after Russians captured the Road of Life, but we have zero confirmed video that Russia has control of this area. But there is report of movements in this area. There is claims of Ukrainian counteroffensive in this area. Without proof, we can't update this area. But if you ask me personally, I believe this area is in a grey zone. Here on their base, Russian forces have finally liberated it and have multiple angles of Russian flags being raised. And later reports of Russian advance further. But these reports are a bit unconfirmed. But logically this makes sense. But as usual, we can't show true advances unless we see video or true confirmations from trusted sources. We have also unconfirmed information about the water pump station. We believe this is in a correct grey zone. Here we have a small video of a more missile striking a grouping of drone operators in the Tonkin village. They are probably a part of the Seversk grouping. We can believe 4 drone operators were KIA, and a drone depot was destroyed. That is our conclusion for what happened in this area. This could mean Russian forces are trying to find and destroy things that could delay or stop operations in this area. That concludes the Avdiivika sector. Now let's move to the Novonikhaylovka. We have reports of Russian advance but at unknown where. We mark 2 areas with flags to see which one may have been put the grey zone. Here a large advance has happened. Russian soldiers have finally gained a solid foothold in the minor town and pushed the fighting into the central parts of the minor town. With Russian having a foothold, we should expect them to expand and advance rapidly with no interruption, as Ukraine is too busy sending soldiers to Avdiivika. The 3 units who had such a successful advance was the elite 115th Guards Naval Infantry Brigade, 225th Motor Rifle Regiment and 33rd Motor Rifle Guards Regiment supported by the 312th Separate Missile Artillery. On my map, we only have 1 Ukrainian unit defending the area and that's the 72nd Mechanized Brigade. This unit is very exhausted from continuous fighting. This is probably why Russian forces were able to have a significant breakthrough on the east, northeast and southeast of Novonikhaylovka. Now we have one report on what's happening on Robinto. As you can see, I added a fortification on the map. We have satellite image of Ukrainian forces expanding the ex-Russian fortification that Russian held in late July before being captured by Ukrainian forces early June. Now the Ukrainian are building fortifications all over the front expecting Russian offensives. Okay everyone, that will be the end of our analysis of the Russian SMO in Ukraine. I hope all of you have a great rest of the day. And remember, we do not support any type of violence around the world. That will be it for today and goodbye.